Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Best Day Insights session. My name is Martina Lucic-Čanak. I am director of Best Day event, and I'll be your moderator for the next hour. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being part of this conversation. Today's topic is one I know, and you know, and actually everybody knows hits home for many of you. How to improve revenue performance when you actually don't have a dedicated revenue manager. And how to do that by building better collaboration between departments and between departments that you already have. Like you have marketing, you have sales, operations, and probably you have IT department as well. This session is meant to be practical, honest, and above all, useful. And our goal is not to sell you another tool today or to overwhelm you with theory. Instead, we are here to give you clear ideas which you can actually try, and hopefully you will walk away with a few new ways of thinking. We invited 3 incredible experts to share their experience and point of view. Vlatka Barcan, a revenue and profitability consultant with a background at Citizen M and Circle Collection. Welcome, Vlatka.
Dinka Krčelić. Thank you for having me, Martina. Happy to be here.
Dinka Krčelić, executive coach and change management specialist focused on leadership, trust, and transformation. Welcome, Dinka.
Good afternoon to all.
And last but not the least, Vladislav Valiček, strategic advisor for tech and digital integration in hospitality. Welcome, Vladislav.
Welcome, everybody.
Before we begin, we will take just a minute to get to know you. Now you know us, we would like to know more about you. I will just put here the poll. You should see it now, and kindly ask you to tell us a little bit more about you. So you have here 2 questions. We ask, which department do you currently work in, and do you currently have a dedicated revenue manager in your hotel or in your company?
I would expect that audience is from various parts which touch revenue management, because when we say revenue management, it's not necessarily only revenue. Revenue management is touching so many parts of organization.
Yes, definitely. And it looks like you are right. And it looks like we have a great mix of departments here. And
this is wonderful. Exciting.
So we have a strong presence from management, from sales, operations. We actually do not have people from IT. That means actually that everyone here speaks human language, and that's wonderful. So here is how today will work. Each of our 3 speakers will give a short, sharp perspective from their area of expertise, and then we will open it up for conversation and questions. And we would really love to hear from you. So feel free to type your questions in the Zoom chat at any time. We will go through them after the speaker round and answer as many as we can. And if we do not get to everything, don't worry, we will follow up afterward. We are specialists in following up. And to keep things moving, I'm opening this virtual stage for Vlatka.
Thank you, Martina. First of all, thank you to you and your team from Best Day event for having us here today. Quite excited to share some insights, and I really do hope that some of these insights will be applicable to everyone's organization. I know actually that some of the audience, and thank you so much for finding the time for being here today in your busy schedules. I know that some of the audience is not necessarily from the hotel industry. We do have some airline and IT. So I do think that this subject actually is very applicable, not just in the hotels, but to other industries. My perspective is from the hotels because this is all I know my whole life. But I do think that this collaborative approach can be done in any different organization. So to get started, why do we think that collaboration matters? Of course, hotels are very complex ecosystems, and naturally certain things are done in silos. So creating one commercial team is actually something that I think can break these silos, can really align all different goals. So let's start talking about one commercial team. This is something that I've seen in quite a few organizations being implemented in the last years, where revenue, sales, marketing, e-commerce all respond to the head of commercial. And why is this important? Because then everyone's goals or key performance indicators are actually aligned. So one example would be how much direct revenue do we want to grow next year? So naturally, this is often part of the marketing team goals because they are maybe responsible of the direct revenue through loyalty programs and such. But actually, that way, for example, revenue team needs to be aware of all the promotions being done for direct, same as for OTAs, etc. So I'm going to go through some of the tangible items that you can implement to really create this unified approach. So yearly promotions calendar. This is something that should be actually done as part of the budgeting process, maybe towards the end where you are maybe talking about the segmentation for the hotel. And this is where you have the opportunity to align what does marketing want to run as a promotion, but also what does your revenue team need to do, for example, for the low season. And if this is something that is pre-planned, it should be done as a working document, and then everybody can check in maybe monthly or whatnot. Do we need to readjust this document? What can we do really to align the whole team? Maybe marketing team could say, okay, this is a really big event where we really want to create awareness, but then the revenue team says, well, we don't really need to displace any revenue and we can sell the highest rates. So this is something that can be already pre-planned. Maybe you have your Q1 slow season in the winter, and this is the time where you can already pre-plan, okay, end of December, I'm going to run this big yearly promotion that will help the base revenue, the base business for our Q1. So you don't have to be in a situation where everybody's panicking, you're not meeting your budget already in February, and you need to do promotion on top of promotion and really distort the rate. So next item, promotions should be for direct OTAs and sales segments. And really the emphasis here is on the sales, because you might have some really big producing sales contracted accounts. And then let's say we need revenue, extra volume in certain times of our year, and maybe I'm running a 30% off promotion from the revenue perspective, and that could actually come underneath the sales contracted rate. So we really need to also align all the promotions with what are we going to do with our most the contracted accounts that are really creating the base for us the whole year. So this is where the whole collaboration matters and where we really pre-plan for the whole year. Looking at return on ad spend, this is where there should be a collaboration between marketing, e-commerce, and revenue. So let's say if you have multiple hotels in different markets, and certain market is really, like your hotel in that market is doing really well, you are meeting your forecast, your budget, you should somehow communicate that information that this hotel is doing really well towards your marketing and e-commerce team, so they don't have an extra spend in that market. Rather, they should know that from the revenue perspective, other hotel might need more push, we need to spend some ads there. So there should really be either a working document. This is something that can be very easily automated through reporting. And everybody should be educated how to read these reports so they know what they are spending, and that will, at the end of the day, impact overall cost, make sense where we actually have a demand need. Looking at the next item, retro analysis. So this is really the next step where if you pre-plan those promotions throughout the year, at some point after every promotion, especially really big ones, we need to do the retro analysis where we really look at, okay, what is the incremental revenue? Meaning, what would I have booked in this time period anyways in a year? So you can take the amount of revenue you booked last year and you can evaluate what is the additional revenue that you booked this year. You can do the retro analysis on what really worked, what didn't, and learn from it and implement it towards the next, towards your next promotions. Also, how many people actually canceled and rebooked at the lower rate? Does that make sense? Should we target everybody with such promotion and so on? There should be really bi-weekly or weekly alignment within your team. Sales team should really share the information on, okay, this is expectations from this group. It washed a lot or not. What can we do to mitigate? And what other segment can we push if the one that we anticipated such performance didn't perform as well? And this is where the whole team should really have an impact. CLV focus, this is really, I think, the next level, which I really love. It's customer lifetime value. So it's not just one-off booking, but you really need to build the loyalty. Think about your repeat guests and send a different message towards different guests based on their behavior. So if somebody has not been in your hotel since 2 years and you really want them back, maybe you should send them a promotional discounted message, come back, something very attractive. But if you have a guest that is actually coming to your hotel once a month, that means they're there for a reason, they like your hotel. I do not need to send them a discounted message. What I could do maybe is send them, let's say, a food and beverage credit or a discount, so they can also, because they're coming anyways, you don't want to discount that rate, then they can maybe actually give additional incremental revenue in your restaurant. And this way you are also giving them something, but you are really targeting towards their behavior. And let's talk a little bit about total revenue management. So now we kind of touched within the commercial team, but now I would like to expand a little bit about total revenue management, where every department in hotel can really share their responsibilities and work together towards one revenue goal. My first 10 or so years were in hotel operational management, so I do have an idea of how this can really be implemented in different departments. So I'm going to go through some of these tangible items that you can implement. Cost saving on room cleaning. A lot of hotels are actually now doing a lot of initiatives where you give guests an option to opt out of everyday room cleaning. Of course, this is a huge cost savings for you, but it needs to be incentivized. So let's say every time that the guest opts out, you can actually donate to a certain organization. And this is where marketing comes in and communicates to your guests. If you opt out and you don't need that bed made every single day, we are going to donate this amount to this organization. We are doing something good. Sustainability, as we know, is a really, really big trend in our industry. So I think you can really kind of hit all aspects of this, save your costs, but also do something good, which guests really do appreciate. Looking at the collaboration between the sales groups team. It is quite easy now with all the systems we use nowadays to really impact the staffing based on, let's say you have a big group coming in, how many rooms it wash, how many things. Oh, sorry, I think we have a little Dinka different screen. I apologize. Yeah, super. Thank you. we're going to go one back. Sorry, Dinka. It's okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, so you can automate these things through different reporting and educate everybody how to look at this information. So for example, front office manager or housekeeping manager that are making a schedule for next 2 weeks, they should already have that information easily accessible. Please don't do Excel sheets manually from revenue and send via email. This can all be really automated. Everybody should be taught how to learn this information. What is the group occupancy? What are the expectations? Those kind of things. And that will actually really save you some money on the staffing. Food and beverage revenue management. I do think looking at the total revenue management, the revenue should also be involved in pricing the menus in collaboration with the restaurant managers, for example, who have transparency of the cost. And does it really make sense? But one simple example would be, let's say your guest is checking in on a Monday or Tuesday, your restaurant is really sitting almost empty on those evenings. And maybe a front desk agent can just ask, do you have any dinner plans? And they say no. And then, you can just hand them a little, okay, here is a 10-15% discount for a restaurant this evening. So why don't you go ahead and try a restaurant? And this is all going to be at the end of the day incremental revenue, because you are working together between revenue and the restaurant as well as front office team. Banqueting facilities, unfortunately these days sit empty quite often. This is something where revenue managers can also really help in more dynamic pricing. We are really often finding certain just a flat rate, or maybe even just a seasonal rate for certain rooms, depending on the amount of people and the package you get. But this is something that should also really be dynamic and evolving. This is where revenue can help you. And this is where, for example, we can create sales and group packages to utilize those spaces and really work together. Unutilized spaces, I put this here because I had one situation where there was a brilliant general manager who approached me and said, actually, we have 3 different storage rooms on our top floor, which we don't need. So we created a cost analysis of what would it cost to put those 3 rooms into one suite, and as well the revenue analysis on what could this one suite bring in a year. So it was really a no-brainer to make that transition. I just wanted to mention it. This is one example of really great collaboration between the general manager, operations, as well as revenue in creating overall more revenue. And from this upselling, I think this is something that a lot of hotels are already doing. But that being said, you will often have revenue managers decreasing the room incrementals based on the rooms that are not sold, which will then be in conflict of your front desk trying to upsell that room for a certain amount at checking. So this is something where you also really, revenue managers need to work with the front desk and see, okay, this is how much you are selling it on the day off, and this is the lowest that I will change that incremental. What does make sense? And this is another example of collaboration. And the last part on my little presentation is budgeting. I think everybody is probably enjoying the process at the moment, so good luck with that. But I wanted to really share some examples of how, in my experiences, this does not have to be such a painful process that creates a lot of pressure on the team. For some reason, most hotels start their budget in the highest season, which is also the holiday season. So less employees, and this creates like a lot of stress. But what I saw is really helpful is if you really agree on the realistic timelines. I had a situation where finance team, which is the team that normally leads the budget, right? Because they have transparency from the top line to cost to the bottom line. And I was told you need to have a top line done by end of July. Well, for me, it doesn't really make sense because I only have 6 months of actualized data at this point. The next 6 months are just based on the budget that I did a year ago, which is quite an old information at that point. Now, on the other note, you have a lot of forecasted publications, for example, from STR or different organizations and such, that are saying this is the market forecast coming in mid-August, end of August. So my end of July top line really will change a lot of times by the time I get more accurate information. So try to really work with your team. What does really make sense? Often we're not finalizing budget, and before November, December, sometimes even January, the budget is not approved, and we've all been there. But yeah, this is something that you can then really work together. And one thing here is that everybody should have a shared responsibility, where, for example, implementing rolling budget will give you the freshest information. Rolling budget, just for those that are not utilizing it, is, for example, this year, January passed, I'm going to already budget for next year, January. If I know one event is not happening next year, I have the freshest information what happened this January, and my expectations are already there. By the time you get to the budget season, you already have so many rolling months, and you just revise with new information that you have at that moment. But you're really doing it and looking ahead and not creating so much pressure. Finance ensures cost transparency. Quite a few organizations that I witnessed actually put in place somebody, it's like a finance commercial person, it's a new role, and they are the ones that will, once the top line is done, actually give transparency on the cost and what does that do to the bottom line. And then this circle really repeats throughout the process, and then it makes sense. Also, everybody should have some responsibility within the budget, so it should not really come only from revenue. For example, if the marketing team is in charge of direct, then they should actually budget that segment. Of course, revenue needs to agree and align. Sales team is the one that knows. These are the accounts that are producing now. Maybe another one account that is the biggest one is moving to a different city. These are the actions that we are going to do to mitigate those losses. These are the things that we can do to increase our sales budget. But that sales budget, the numbers really should come from sales, because they have all the information. And then it's a collaboration on how are we going to finalize that, what makes sense. Last part, I think, if you really collaborate from the start and really respect each other through this process, try to make it as seamless as possible, share as much information, prepare as much as you can before the summer starts, so you already know who you are targeting from sales, what you're going to do, what are the loyalty initiatives that your marketing teams are going to do. That will really help the process and speed up the process, and I think everybody will be much happier through it. So I hope I gave you some tips that will help you in everyday life and revenue management. And with that being said, I will pass it on to Dinka. Thank you. Dinka, yeah.
Yes. Okay. I can continue. No questions I can see, so maybe there will be some in the end. So thank you and good afternoon again. I'm Dinka, and I'm a professional trainer and coach. And thank you, Vlatka, for this interesting introduction into this topic. So our next question is how to make this whole new system work, especially if it's a new system. So I imagine that the first thing that comes to our mind is technology, data, systems, algorithms, use of AI. And yes, technology does make it possible, but the real key to success in this kind of collaboration system are the people. So it's the human dimension that determines whether this system works or fails. So in the next 10 minutes or so, I would like to focus on three interconnected elements that make or break the process. It's the organizational culture, change management, and leadership. These three elements together form, I would say, the backbone of any successful implementation of collaborative revenue management. So let's go through each one of them. The first element is the organizational culture. And what is the organizational culture? I think you can think of it as the personality of your organization. the system of values, beliefs, assumptions that shape the way people behave and interact every day within the company, but also with the clients, partners, and the public. It's in everything, how we communicate with each other, our clients and our partners, but also how formal or informal we are, how respectful or disrespectful we are. The intercultural organizational culture shows up in decision making. Is it top down, bottom up, participative, etc.? And it even affects how transparent we are with information. Now, why does this matter for cross-department collaboration? Because collaboration only works in a culture that promotes trust, openness, and accountability, as Vlatka already mentioned. Soft skills are particularly important here. Skills like empathy, adaptability, communication skills, and the ability to build trust are crucial. Without these, even the best systems will fail. What plays a huge role in shaping the organizational culture is definitely leadership. Leaders are the ones to set the tone on how information flows, how teamwork is valued, and how engaged people feel. So if you want departments to work together effectively, I think it is important to ask yourselves by what kind of culture do we have and what kind of culture do we need? The second element I would like to talk about is change management. We need to talk about it because implementing collaborative revenue management is not just a technical upgrade. It's a big organizational change. And here's the reality. Change is, of course, stressful, not only because of new processes or systems, but also because of the human reaction to uncertainty. During change, people face questions like, what's going to happen to my role? Am I going to have my job tomorrow? Will I succeed or fail in the new system? How will the whole change affect my department? And this fear and uncertainty often create resistance. And that's normal. People don't like change by nature. So the question is, what can we do about it? Three things work really well. It is really good to involve staff early on. So a change, especially if it's such a systematic change as this collaborative approach, should not be a surprise to your staff. I think that the staff should be given ownership of the change. It is also important to provide clarity on roles and responsibilities. So you see that communication and feedback are really critical. Communication has to be frequent, open, in all possible directions. And the third element that is really important here is to allow time for acceptance. You know, some people are really quick in accepting changes. Some need more time. Usually leaders or bosses are the ones who have a broader picture and they are aware of the need to change and want the change to happen very quickly. But some people really need time to embrace the change. So I would say that if you skip any of these steps, there is high risk of creating stress, disengagement, and even failure in implementing the system. So think of change management as guiding people through a psychological transition, not just a technical one. And then the third element, which I would like to mention here, is leadership. It is leadership that ties culture and change management together. Effective leaders create trust and accountability. They communicate openly, not just downwards, but in all directions. And they stay present and involved during the whole process. So what would good leadership look like in this context? First, I think it is really important to advocate transparency and mutual respect throughout the change that we are embracing now. So we have to communicate a lot, but we also have to show respect for each other, for our differences, for possible resistance, etc. Second, it is really important to encourage vulnerability and feedback, both by giving feedback and seeking feedback. And when talking about vulnerability, it's not only acknowledging that some staff feel very insecure or feel the mentioned fear, but vulnerability is also on the side of the leader, because very often we don't know exactly how the change will really happen and what will be the final result of it. So, vulnerability of the leader can also be very, very powerful here. Third, I think it is really important to celebrate wins, even the small ones, because this builds momentum and trust throughout the organization. And finally, I think it is crucial to help your teams understand interdependencies, how their work impacts other departments and why collaboration matters, why I comes before B, and why is it so important really to work together and really to be open and encourage teamwork. And then when leaders do these things, collaboration stops feeling like an obligation and starts feeling like a shared mission. So in order to bring all these elements together, technology is important. But technology is only the enabler. It's the people who make it work. So if you want cross-department revenue management to succeed, you need to invest in your people and focus on building a culture of trust, openness, and accountability, manage change with empathy and clarity, and lead with transparency, presence, and courage. So if you want to take this back to your teams, I think it is important to start the conversation about the culture, to involve your people in every step of the change and lead in a way that inspires trust and collaboration. Because in the end, it's the human dimension, which is not just the node, but it's the foundation of success. So I will stop here, and I am open, of course, for the questions, and we'll pass on to Vladislav and invite him to explain how now technology comes into the game.
Hello to everybody. So based on the pool, we are missing two important group of the people. We are missing marketing and we are missing technology. Because revenue on itself, it cannot deliver as such without marketing and without technology. So in a sense, on the side of technology, what we see, and even on the side of the marketing and revenue, we are not talking together enough. We have to talk more, but not on the way what we need from each other, but to explain space from where we are coming, to explain from revenue standpoint to the person in IT what we are doing, because people in IT, they don't know what you are doing. They just know which software or programs you are using, but not necessarily they are understanding your strategies. And better they understand your strategies, better they will help you. Same applies to marketing, because marketing, if it is not tightly connected to revenue, can actually run PR-like marketing, which is actually not enhancing revenue strategies. So today we need to bring all that together. We need to bring conversations, not about task management, what somebody needs to do, but about what we are doing together. And if we are talking about technology, how to do that? Actually, it's very easy. Record conversations. Keep recorded conversations. Use AI to analyze, to surface what we are talking about, what are our blind spots. So it is not expensive technology. It's actually, everybody have it on their desktop or laptop. So if we start having discipline of having transcripts of our topical conversations about revenue, about marketing, new knowledge will emerge from that. Because if we just leave it on a level of meeting where we exchanged our opinions, human brain cannot remember something which happened 6 months ago. So having discipline to create transcripts about what we are talking about and keep these transcripts and use AI to go through 10 or 15 transcripts and derive from them insights which we could not have in every particular conversation. And what is significant, we can even draw back insights about our own culture, how we are collaborating, how we are working while trying to maximize revenue for organization. So other question would be, what is the size of the organization which should handle revenue management? And is this something which only huge organizations can tackle? But actually, very often you will find yourself that you are maybe in the role of the marketing and in the role of the revenue management. So address problem from marketing standpoint and address problem from a revenue standpoint, and then bring them together. Don't keep them in your head, externalize them. And then when you see them, then actually, again, use AI to see actually what is your internal process. Bigger organizations, naturally, they have a more complex organizational structure. This was advice for smaller organizations. But even this applies to bigger organizations or even enterprise organizations. When we come to the point of total revenue management, usually how operations see what is coming to them from revenue is actually booking. But that booking, and then operations have to align in capacity. They have to align through all processes they have over there. And very often it's so, even doing that is so challenging that we cannot focus on total revenue management. This is where technology comes again. Because what we can see that actually guests are not going to reception where they would get upsell and cross-sell. We have technology for that. So we have IPTVs, we have various flyers around hotel with barcodes, we have wellness. There are so many points in which we can convert through technology guests into cross-sell and upsell process. So, and that is not complex to do. Actually, there are ready-made solutions on the market which are very, very easily to implement, which would augment revenue which is secured by revenue management. And also over there, we have to understand that total revenue, we have room revenue, we have F&B part, which is actually cost for us because it's included in the price of the room. But what about F&B, which is not part of the room? And what about wellness activities and spa, wellness activities and sport? So there are so many points in which revenue can be generated through technology, but we have to have discipline and understanding that we can capture that revenue. And yes, it can be handled on various levels of complexity. But again, some solutions are almost on the level that you plug them in, I mean, technological solutions, and you can start driving a revenue from it. When I say technology which you plug it in that you start learning. You not plug it in that you fire and forget. Because whatever we are doing that we actually learn something from it. And another topic is today on the marketing side, when we are talking about loyalty, when we are talking about guest journey through all these channels which marketing is handling, amount of information which revenue is getting is actually aggregated. And we are seeing that actually that dynamical landscape of the marketing is now merging into dynamical landscape of the revenue management, where revenue management actually will very soon need all marketing data. They will not need something like aggregate, because with today's machine learning, with AI, with advanced tools, even with Excel, we can get such a deep insight into what we can do with technology and how that technology can facilitate us that we can change. Otherwise, we are trying to change ourselves, but we are staying the same. Use technology to push the envelope, and then with that envelope, come back to marketing, come back to revenue management, come back to technology, and see how we can change.
Vladislav, we have here a question for you, and that question actually is just aligning to things that you just said. But if you can tell us a little bit more, if hotel doesn't have a dedicated revenue manager, who actually takes responsibility for strategic decisions, and how can it be prevented from falling solely on the general manager?
That depends on the size.
Of the size of what?
Yeah, if organization does not have a dedicated revenue management, that gives me information that is a small organization, that is not a medium or small organization. So it goes to sales. Responsibility is up on sales director, sales manager, and usually as organization grows, revenue management grows from sales role.
Lots of responsibilities on sales.
It is. But there is a lot of expertise, not necessarily within our organization, but outside of organization. Consult expertise outside of the organization. Consult Vlatka. Ask questions.
And if
I think,
Vlatka, yes, please.
Just to add one thing to what Vladislav shared, I think also what really helps here is two other things. One is training, of course. So if you really don't have a budget for a full revenue manager, then you can, let's say, do basic training for your sales. Maybe in smaller hotels, organizations, you have one person doing sales and marketing. So maybe that person can get some basic training to actually work together with general manager. You can implement these commercial meetings where the knowledge is shared and responsibility is also shared. And what I think also works really well is assigning revenue champions. Everybody is interested in revenue. So if you make a really ambitious, front desk person, you give him some responsibility on what is the front desk doing from the revenue perspective, and you do that across different departments. Then that revenue responsibility is shared, and then everybody feels more involved this way. Yeah, and that's indeed then what Vladislav said. Then technology comes in, and then you can automate these reportings, that everybody has transparency on the information, and it's shared across departments. So it's really not just falling within the general manager.
And Vlatka mentioned a lot, there is a possibility, unless it's necessary, to have a collaboration and a communication. And now you talk about the communication between sales, communication between marketing, communication between general management. And who is that person who is communicating with all of that? Who is there? Are we now talking about some new roles?
Not necessarily new roles. It is really about how is the top management going to help with organizing this and putting this in place for organization. I think it has a lot to do with the size of the organization. What kind of staffing do you have? Indeed, is your sales manager also doing marketing or not, or do you have two people? And really streamline that process and see what works. I think one thing that's I've learned really doesn't work to meet about the meeting to meet and then just, you have this weekly meeting and everybody's just, okay, what do we need to go over now? And somebody creates a deck and you should even question your meetings. Are they really productive? So I think the system comes really as a collaborative approach as well, and it can be revised if it doesn't work for your organization. So it is really a productive meeting and approach.
And Vlatka, we have another question here for you. What do you see as the biggest risk of total revenue management remaining only an operational tool instead of evolving into a true strategic framework in hospitality?
I think it is the setup of it that is the risk. And I came across where in some hotels we wanted to implement total revenue management, then it was coming from revenue, and then let's say now all of a sudden groups team needs to go into the revenue system and input their group expectations, right? And they always felt like this is just additional task for me, but then it was the way of them communicated this information to everybody. So I think if you don't have total revenue management in place, I would really kind of create a focus, what is really the most important? What is going to really make the biggest influence? Is it revising the menu between the revenue and restaurant manager, for example, and really kind of think about what will make the most revenue impact, prioritize that way, and implement little by little. You can do it in an agile way, in sprints, and really, what really makes a difference. And little by little, you will grow towards total revenue management. I don't think it's an overnight thing where now we're going to do total revenue management. It is really then, little by little collaboration and what works for us, what doesn't, what process works, how can we automate it. I think implementing something like that, making it manual work is the worst direction to go. So this is where we use Vladislav with his technology and how can things be automated. So you also really need to maybe work with IT or whatnot within your organization and do it little by little. So I think doing it all at once and creating more work that doesn't really give us good goals is the biggest risk, in my opinion.
And Dinka, thank you, Vlatka. Dinka, and what advice would you give to managers or leaders who would say, we just don't have time to collaborate, we are too busy?
I would like to go back to what Vlatka just said, that change will maybe require more work at first. But then if you're aware of the benefits that the change can bring, then I think it's worth the try. And so I think this is also something that has to be presented to the managers, to everyone who is afraid that they would be getting more work, that in the end it will be beneficial to all.
Yes, thank you. And Vladislav, do you have something to add on that?
Who does not today? Actually, we are living in such a time that change is constant. And if you are not changing, actually you are lagging. You are managing into not very good place. So if you are focused on constant within your organization, you are missing something, and your strategy is obviously short-termed.
I liked the example that you said about using AI for recording conversation and then having transcript and then putting it into something meaningful. And Do you maybe have some other example of tools or processes that you would like to share that could make a real difference in connecting teams across functions?
When we talk about teams, very often we go into some kind of agile. Let's manage tasks. But task is final outcome. Where collaboration exists is in our conversation. And if we track the conversation, then actually from there we can figure out actually which tools we need to execute such a conversation. And today, one of the very, very good tools is you have various solutions on internet. They are not expensive at all. Even these solutions are fruit of Croatian brains, where you can dump your data into machine learning for very, very small amount, and it will surface you insights about your revenue strategy, which are days and days work in Excel.
And are we maybe here talking about another job role or some new skills that we should develop?
Actually, now we have job descriptions. And European Union told us, okay, very soon you have to convert it into the skills. And everybody is looking into it. Okay, how to do it? Okay, we do it with AI, obviously. But our job descriptions are too fixed. So definitely what is a revenue manager and as a job description, and what is the revenue manager as a skill, as a talent, as a strength, it's a different thing. So actually you are not searching for person which will fill your job description. You are searching for the person which will fit maturity of your organization with a skill set and a talent to bring you to the next step, from where you can stop and say, okay, what do I need now? Job description is past.
Anyway, at the end of most of the job descriptions, it was always written, and that you have to do everything else that your superior will say.
And everything very often means nothing and urgently kills meaningful.
And Vlatka, we learned that while you are managing revenue in a property, that it's not only about the numbers, the sheets and everything, that you actually, like Vladislav said, you need to have a certain skills, but you also need to have a kind of intuition. What is your experience with developing that intuition? How do you do that? And do you have any practical advice how to practice that?
I think, I believe that intuition comes from experience. So let's say, per definition, the more certain situation you have in your life, then the stronger your intuition is going to be about the subject. So of course, coming from the revenue perspective, we look at numbers and we analyze, and this is our job. But yeah, I think also with having many different situations, you are going to create that instinct when you're like, okay, you know what, this event, I think everybody's rates right now are a little bit overboard. I don't think this is going to hold. Everybody is going to just dump their rates right before. So what can we do to mitigate us not booking these super high rates and then having all the cancellations, for example, right? So this is where maybe your intuition, of course, knowledge of witnessing so many events from before, but this is, I think, where it really comes. And I think diversity of the situations is really what teaches you in this. And also here again, collaboration with the team comes, because maybe my sales manager has a different intuition for a certain scenario than me, and this is where we should talk about it and see what do we really think something is going to happen.
And the last question for today, and Dinka, you wanted to say something?
I just wanted to add, yes, that in fact, the words that we heard so many times today, collaboration and responsibility, is something that we want to see also in using more this fantastic talent or, well, gift of intuition. And by instilling responsibility and collaboration in people, I think it will be easier to count on intuition by, well, or everybody who is accountable.
And Vladislav, what do you think? How many people who are more in technical side of the work jobs have developed intuition that can communicate it properly?
Actually, there is a stigma regarding tech guys, but that stigma is there because how we come to them. So when we come to technology, actually we expect something should be fixed. But look at these guys and girls over there, and we should come to them with the same respect as we should expect that somebody comes into our topic. Explain them the problem, and you will witness change. The way how we communicate with technology reflects back. Even if I go and open AI and I ask question, AI will answer. But if I explain the space from which I'm asking the question to AI will answer differently. It's same with tech guys.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for collaboration. Thank you for all of your insights. And of course, thank you all for your questions, your time, and of course to you speakers one more time for sharing your knowledge so generously. So if this was helpful, we would really appreciate and love your feedback. And please take a minute to fill out the survey that will pop up, but just after this session ends. And this will help us to improve, and it will help us to shape the future session around what you really need. And of course, if you would like more of this, we are already working on the next best day insights. And of course, our in-person event is coming back in February 2026, and we would like to see you also there. Until then, thank you again, and of course, keep building smarter and more connected teams. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you.